The series begins with Jade, a gifted barista and struggling single mother, waking up in the morning. She goes downstairs to the kitchen to find her 7-year-old son Zion eating breakfast, which he made for himself. Zion reminds his mother that they have to pay his school fees and asks if they're poor. Jade shakes her head and assures him they are not. When Zion suggests going to a cheaper school, Jade explains that it's her responsibility to make those decisions and urges him to get ready for school. It's revealed that Zion suffers from a rare bone disease affecting his mobility. After dropping him off at school, Jade heads to work at a local neighborhood cafe. The cafe's owner, Mrs. Changlei, is a friendly woman in her 50s who appears to be close to Jade. Mrs. Changlei complains about the cafe's lack of earnings, attributing it to the new restaurants in town stealing their customers. In response, Jade reassures Mrs. Changlei not to worry and proposes that a minor revamp of the cafe could enhance its appeal. Following this, we meet our protagonist, Eros Petrakis, an attractive yet haughty scion of a shipping magnate. Eros receives a call from his father, inquiring if he can make it to a meeting on time. Although Eros assures his father he'll arrive in 5 minutes, his father discerns that he's being untruthful. It's disclosed that Eros is grappling to earn his father's trust to secure his position as a suitable heir to the company. Following his boxing session, Eros and his senior secretary, Donovan, venture to the cafe where Jade is employed. Here, our heroine has an unexpected encounter with our hero as she inadvertently collides with him. Despite this, their introduction is less than pleasant, as Eros brusquely requests her to keep her eyes forward, already appearing irritated that his father forbade him from attending the meeting. Eros's demeanor unsettles Jade, but she strives to maintain her composure and attend to her customers. Jade then prepares one of her signature coffee blends, impressing Eros and Donovan with her barista skills. Consequently, Eros appears to be in better spirits, suggesting to Donovan that they should proceed to the meeting promptly. Afterwards, Eros joins his father in the crucial meeting and proposes a solution to the ongoing issue. It's disclosed that their company is embroiled in a conflict with the workers at the seaport, prompting Eros to propose personally engaging with the workers to hear out their concerns. Despite his father's doubts and desire to run the business alone, as he deems Eros unsuitable due to his reputation as a womanizer and lack of seriousness about the business, Eros manages to persuade the board members that the conflict will soon be resolved. Consequently, the meeting ends smoothly in his favor. Taking inspiration from Jade's presence, Eros impulsively decides to hire her as his personal assistant, feeling oddly familiar with her. Under Donovan's orders, Jade is approached again at the cafe with an offer for the position of Eros's personal assistant at Petrakis Shipping Company. Initially taking it as a joke, Jade is given a card by Donovan and told to consider it. However, with her son's condition worsening and facing financial devastation due to the need for expensive treatment and medication, Jade decides to accept the job at Petrakis Shipping Company, which offers triple her current salary. On her first day at the job, Jade learns about Eros's immense wealth. During her break, Jade revisits her former workplace to catch up with Mrs. Changlei about her day. They both agree to collaborate on revitalizing the cafe, with Jade becoming a partner despite her new job. To secure expansion, they plan to present their business plan to the bank and schedule a meeting with a bank representative for the following day. Upon returning to her new workplace, Jade receives the task from her boss, Eros, to prepare the boardroom for an important meeting with Mr. Takashi, a Japanese CEO, scheduled for 3 p.m. While Eros heads to his boxing session, Jade diligently sets up the boardroom. However, Mr. Takashi arrives earlier than expected, revealing that the meeting was actually scheduled for 2 p.m. This unexpected development poses a challenge for both Jade and Eros, as Eros is still occupied with his boxing session. It turns out that Eros miscommunicated the timing to Jade. Once Jade notifies him, Eros hurries to get ready to welcome Mr. Takashi. However, the Japanese CEO is very strict with time and lashes out at Eros for disrespecting him when he arrives earlier than expected. Mr. Takashi leaves before Eros can properly apologize, leading to Eros facing a lecture from his father as a consequence. Frustrated, Eros directs his anger at Jade, who doesn't understand why she's being yelled at when Eros was the one who miscommunicated the timing. Later that night, Eros asks Jade to come over to his penthouse, where he's already drunk. He then starts wallowing in self-pity before falling asleep on the sofa. After this encounter, Jade returns home to find her sister, Saf, in the kitchen. She talks about her day with her sister, complaining about how her new boss is behaving. The next day, Jade manages to win over Mr. Takashi's heart by gifting him with sumiyaki coffee, specially hand-picked from a plantation in Brazil and made by Japanese descendants. Impressed by Jade's thoughtfulness, Mr. Takashi agrees to do business with the Petrakises. Meanwhile, during the meeting, Jade misses her appointment with the bank staff, much to Mrs. Changley's disappointment. Although Jade's gift saves the business from losing a potential investor, she realizes she should have consulted Eros first. Eros's father notices Jade's competence as an assistant who saved his son's reputation. He then belittles Eros for this, telling him that he may have fooled Mr. Takashi, but he can't fool him. As usual, Eros gets angry at Jade for apparently pulling a stunt without informing him. After work, Jade visits Eros's penthouse and tells him that she can't understand why he's angry with her when she was the one who saved him. When asked why she didn't inform him about the gift earlier, Jade explains that it all happened so fast. When she realized that Mr. Takashi was going back to Tokyo that night, she had to get him to sign the business deal. Eros then yells at her, accusing her of making him look like a fool in front of his father. Jade finally lashes out, telling him to do his job himself instead of taking it out on her. She points out that this is also the reason why his father doesn't respect him. Eros then stops her, shouting that she is fired from the job. The next morning, however, Jade formally apologizes to Eros at the office. She admits that she may have acted out of line, but he brings out the worst in her. She declares that he can't fire her because she is quitting the job. Saying this, she storms out of the office. Just then, she gets a call from Saf, who informs her that Zion fell and is being taken to the clinic. Jade learns that her son's condition is worsening day by day. His bones are deteriorating at a faster rate, so he's going to need specialized care. Determined to provide the best for her child, Jade resolves to conquer her financial challenges. Later, she meets with Mrs. Changlei with a business plan and asks her if she can come back to work. The kind woman welcomes Jade back anytime. The two then decide to pursue their plans for improving the cafe. Meanwhile, Eros's father, Petrakis Sr., interrupts his boxing session to inform him that the board has called another meeting to discuss the company's heir. Petrakis Sr. reveals that he's going to choose his daughter, Chloe, as she has met his expectations. She owns 3 shipyards in Europe and is continuing the family legacy as she is soon getting married. Upon hearing this, Eros abruptly announces that he's getting married too, and now he must find a suitable bride. After pondering for a while, an idea strikes him. Meanwhile, Jade sadly learns that Mrs. Changlei has recently been diagnosed with cancer, which is why she asked Jade to partner with her in the cafe, knowing she doesn't have much time left. That evening, as Jade prepares to leave work, Eros unexpectedly visits her at the cafe. Confused by his presence after their previous encounters, Eros starts by apologizing for his behavior and acknowledges Jade's role in saving the deal with Mr. Takashi. He then proposes to invest in the cafe. However, Jade sees through his intentions and understands that he is seeking a favor. Eros suggests a marriage agreement, explaining that he needs to gain his father's trust by presenting himself as responsible, like his sister. Initially taken aback, Jade rejects his proposal. However, upon learning that Mrs. Changley's cafe is being sold by her unkind children, forcing them to vacate within a week, she decides to accept Eros's offer to secure financial stability. Meanwhile, Eros finds himself unable to shake the thought of Jade, feeling as though they have met before their encounters at the cafe. Later that evening, Jade visits Eros's place and agrees to be his fake fiancé under specific conditions. These include his investment in the cafe and providing a space for Jade and Mrs. Changley's business, along with compensation for her time. Eros agrees to her terms. The next day, Jade undergoes a transformation, as Eros believes his fiancé should exude class and elegance. Dressed in a stunning yellow dress, Jade captivates Eros with her beauty. When asked why he chose her, Eros admits that Jade is the only woman who could help him portray an image of integrity and honesty. Later, during their fake engagement, a man interrupts them to inform Eros about something important. To Jade's surprise, the man turns out to be Joseph, her ex-boyfriend. Unaware of their past relationship, Eros introduces Joseph to Jade, mentioning that he has recently joined the company. Subsequently, Eros announces their engagement to his parents during a lunch gathering. While his mother seems pleased, his father appears skeptical. The next morning, Joseph pays Jade an unannounced visit to apologize for not acknowledging her the day before. He explains that he was in shock and they catch up on life. Suddenly, Zion interrupts them, surprising Joseph, who didn't know Jade had a son. As Jade bids Joseph farewell, a mysterious man secretly takes their pictures. Later, at the cafe, Eros waits for Jade, who makes her signature coffee blend for him while giving him a lesson on coffee. As their fake relationship continues, Jade and Eros spend more time together and develop feelings for each other. Meanwhile, Eros keeps having flashbacks of a girl he met at a masquerade ball who looks exactly like Jade. He becomes convinced that the girl from the party and Jade are the same person. The following day, Eros' mother visits him and gives him a family ring, suggesting he give it to Jade if he's serious about her. She also hands him a file containing recent pictures of Jade, Zion, and Joseph, shocking Eros as Jade had insisted there was nothing between her and Joseph. He also didn't know she had a son, prompting him to question if he really knows her. In the next scene, he presents Jade with a contract of engagement for her to sign in case she decides to take advantage of him. Jade notices his unusual behavior, as he seemed very friendly and loving the other day. When asked why he is acting strangely, Eros coldly says that this is how they do business deals and that she shouldn't expect anything more. Hurt by his words, Jade storms out of his office sobbing. Joseph notices her and runs after her. He reads the contract and learns about their fake engagement. Jade continues sobbing, and Joseph hugs her to comfort her. Sadly, Eros arrives at the same time and sees them together. Misunderstanding the situation, he grabs the contract from Joseph and tears it apart, then yells at Jade, telling her that it's all over. That evening, Jade visits Eros' place and confronts him. Eros, on the other hand, accuses her of lying about her existing family. Jade lies that Joseph is in her past, so she wasn't ready to talk about him. Eros continues to press, asking if Zion is Joseph's son, but Jade refuses to answer. Even amid the heated argument, Eros calms her down and slowly approaches her. The two then kiss each other and eventually end up in bed. During this time, we are shown flashbacks of Eros being intimate with the mysterious girl at a party. In the next scene, we are taken back to the fateful night when Jade and Eros met for the first time at a masquerade ball. It is revealed that the same day Joseph had left for the US, so Saf, Jade's sister, had taken her to a club to distract her. The two sisters disguised themselves in wigs and masks and entered the party, where Eros, also wearing a mask, bumped into Jade. They chatted and flirted with each other. Realizing she needs a distraction, Jade asks Eros to kiss her, and they end up having a one-night fling. In the present, both Jade and Eros in bed finally realize their first meeting was on the same fateful night. Eros reveals he's been searching for her since then, but Jade snaps back to reality, admitting it was all a mistake, and leaves his apartment. The next day, Joseph makes another unannounced visit to Jade, apologizing for his absence over the years and vowing not to lose her again. Meanwhile, Eros texts Jade, seeking to discuss the previous night's events. When they meet, Eros questions why Jade reacted strongly, and she admits to being shocked upon realizing Eros was the man from the masquerade ball. Jade then reveals Zion's paternity, explaining that Eros is his father. Eros reacts positively, expressing remorse for Jade's struggles and acknowledging his responsibility. However, Jade insists on keeping Zion's paternity a secret to protect him, suggesting they part ways. The following day, Eros visits Jade's apartment to meet Zion. Introducing himself as Jade's friend, he gives Zion a toy ship, and they share a warm moment before Eros bids his son goodbye, promising to see him again soon. In the subsequent scene, Eros impresses a new investor. He extends an invitation to Eros for dinner with other stakeholders and requests him to bring along the soon-to-be Mrs. Petrakis. Eros' father informs him that Chloe will be arriving in town the following week. When Chloe arrives, Eros plans to make an official announcement that she will be the new CEO of the company. Frustrated with the constant pressure from his father to prove himself, Eros subjects and tells his father that he can do whatever he wants, expressing his weariness of constantly having to prove his worth. That evening, Jade visits Eros and returns the toy ship he gave to Zion, insisting that he not interfere in her and Zion's life. Eros, however, proposes a small favor, attending a dinner party with him. In the next scene, the two attend a fun dinner party filled with Eros' company's board members. They pretend and convince everyone that they are truly in love. During this time, Eros tells Jade that he loves her, leaving her taken aback. However, she leaves, believing that he is only saying it to maintain the facade and secure his position as CEO, rather than out of genuine affection. Upon returning home, Joseph visits Jade and expresses his continued love for her, longing for things to return to how they were before. However, Jade realizes that she never truly loved him but was rather dependent on him. She suggests they keep their distance. Later, Joseph talks to Eros about Jade, who, in a fit of rage, reveals that Zion is actually his son. The scene then cuts to the Petrakis building, where Joseph resigns to Eros's father, Petrakis Sr., stating that he cannot work under Eros anymore. Before leaving, he reveals that Jade's son is his grandson, meaning that Eros is Zion's father. Meanwhile, Jade wakes up in the middle of the night to find 19 missed calls from Eros. When she goes to the door, she finds Eros there, sadly informing her that Mrs. Changeley had lost her battle with cancer. Heartbroken, Jade rushes to the cafe with Eros, but finds no one there. Eros informs Jade that he handled everything when Mrs. Changeley suddenly collapsed to the ground. The staff tried to call Jade, but since she didn't answer her calls, they contacted Eros to inform him about the woman's passing. He then takes Jade home. Meanwhile, Joseph arrives at the door after hearing the tragic news. Now facing each other, Eros asks Jade to choose between him and Joseph. The scene abruptly cuts to Eros looking sadly out of his car window, revealing that Jade chose Joseph over him. Donovan then makes Eros realize that Jade didn't choose him because she doesn't love him, but because she thinks he's acting out of guilt. He advises Eros to go after her if he truly loves her. Filled with hope, Eros returns to Jade's apartment, only to find Joseph there. Joseph continues to beg for a last chance to prove his love, leaning in to kiss her. However, Jade no longer reciprocates his feelings and tries to push him away. Seeing this, Eros bursts into the apartment and starts punching Joseph, demanding he leave Jade alone. While they brawl, Zion wakes up and witnesses the commotion. Jade rushes to her son to cover his eyes, screaming at both men to leave her apartment. The next day, Eros's father confronts him about Jade and their son, accusing Jade of manipulating Eros for their money. He insists that he won't let his family's name be tarnished because his son is foolish enough to fall for a common girl. Petrakis Sr. gives Eros an ultimatum. It's either Jade or a seat at the table, meaning the post of CEO for the heiress. Suddenly, police officers arrive to arrest Eros for physical assault, as Joseph reported him regarding the brawl they had the other day. Eros manages to clear his name afterward. Subsequently, Eros's father visits Jade at her cafe. Petrakis Sr. wants to know Jade's intentions, assuming she wants their wealth. Jade, intolerant of this disrespect, asserts that she wants nothing from him. However, Petrakis Sr. reveals that he wants something from her: full custody of his grandchild, Zion. He promises to cover Zion's expensive medical bills and provide him with the best life in exchange for Jade not going public about Eros having a son. Fed up with his demands, Jade orders Petrakis Sr. to leave her cafe. When Eros learns of this, he decides to retaliate against his father. During the next board meeting, he publicly announces that he has a child with Jade, exposing his father's ultimatum. Eros declares that he is leaving the company for good. Meanwhile, Jade discovers that Zion is missing from home. Frantically searching the city, she eventually calls Eros to inform him about their missing child. Fortunately, Zion is spotted outside the Petrakis building. Eros and Jade rush to his side, where Zion casually asks if Eros is his daddy. He requests Eros to pay for his expensive medical bills to prevent his mom from crying every night over the expenses. Eros, overwhelmed with emotion, struggles to respond. After Jade is reunited with her son, Eros discusses the medical bills and offers to help. However, Jade declines, stating that she decided long ago to take care of Zion on her own. Filled with guilt and determination to assist Jade, Eros approaches his father, pleading for his job back. He acknowledges that since Zion's disease will be lifelong, he cannot burden Jade with the financial responsibility, especially now that he knows Zion is his son. Petrakis Sr. agrees to reinstate Eros as COO but imposes 3 conditions. 1. He has to support his sister Chloe, who will be named CEO. 2. He has to fulfill all the responsibilities. And 3. He has to marry the daughter of another shipping tycoon. Feeling he has no choice, Eros accepts his father's terms but also asks him to refrain from seeing Jade and their son. The following day, Donovan brings a new contract for Jade, which mentions that Eros will continue investing in the cafe and includes a generous stipend every month for her exceptional taste in coffee. Sensing there's a catch, Jade asks Donovan about it, and he hesitantly reveals that Eros is getting married. Jade is left in shock, realizing her love for him as she sits alone in the cafe, reminiscing about their time together. Meanwhile, Eros prepares for his big day, where they announce his arranged engagement. While getting ready, his mom advises him to cheer up and suggests that he do what's best for his son Zion, just as they do what's best for him. Eros has a final realization before his wedding day. The scene abruptly changes, showing Eros visiting Jade at her cafe, where he reveals that he didn't marry the girl of his father's choice. He expresses his desire to be there for her and their son, even if it means giving up his family's legacy. Moved by his words, Jade finally tells him that she loves him. In the next scene, the loving couple decides to marry at a low-key ceremony in the cafe, with Zion as the flower boy. Joseph, now reconciled with Jade, also attends as Eros awaits his soon-to-be wife. As the ceremony begins, Eros' mother unexpectedly shows up, and Patricia Sr. walks Jade down the aisle, surprising Eros. Jade and Eros are then declared husband and wife as they exchange rings, ending the series happily for the loving couple. Thank you for watching and subscribe for more such videos.